What's up guys, and welcome to another episode of... What am I doing? After a very long period of time of focusing almost exclusively on Windows devices, Nokia has finally set their sights on Android. And to be honest, ever since the beginning of this year, we've heard loads of rumours about an upcoming super flagship Nokia 9 smartphone. The problem was that a lot of these rumours were actually pointing towards what has now been revealed as the Nokia 8. However, as we dig a little bit deeper, we start to see that some of these leaks have nothing to do with the Nokia 8, and are in fact about a totally new smartphone entirely. Let's start with the latest and probably most obvious thing. Literally yesterday we received a leak from OnLeaks, who is a pretty credible source and has correctly predicted smartphone leaks in the past. It's a 3D render, and whilst it does look pretty convincing, it shows the entire body, and it looks unlike any smartphone we've seen thus far. That's kind of part of the problem. Because Nokia's current line of smartphones, taking a look at the Nokia 3, the Nokia 5, the Nokia 6, and the recent Nokia 8, they all have a very similar design language. Whilst they don't clearly look identical, they share certain elements, like this flat oval enclosure for the cameras and the flash, like the rear of the smartphone. So far we've only seen it in polycarbonate or aluminium, but this render kind of contradicts that a little bit. As you can see, the back is made entirely of glass, and also the cameras don't really obey the same styling. So that small observation does somewhat reduce the credibility of the leak. However, it's very possible that this is a standalone phone. It could be like what Apple is doing with the iPhone X. It could be something like what Samsung is apparently doing with the Galaxy X, something that completely stands on its own 2 feet. And to add some credibility to it, 2 weeks before the render was revealed, we received this. Now this is a drawing made by the exact same person who correctly predicted the Nokia 8 literally weeks before it was actually announced, and as you can see, mapping that onto the render, it is literally identical. The dimensions are exactly the same, the camera placements are the same, the place the flash is there, all exactly the same, which is very reassuring whenever you receive 2 different pieces of information from 2 supposedly independent sources, but they match. That's always a good sign. So very quickly before we carry on, we have literally made it our mission to try and hit 1 million subscribers by the end of 2017. So if you could support me by subscribing, I would appreciate it so much. Now it gets a little bit more realistic. Back in August 2017, after the Nokia 8 had gone public, one of the HMD Global representatives, and HMD Global is the company that owns Nokia now, actually said that a new device is coming. They didn't specify if it's a high-end or low-end device, but what they did say is that it's going to have a larger display than the Nokia 8's 5.3-inch screen, and it's going to have that in order to satisfy absolutely all kinds of users. And this fits rather conveniently back in with the render, because the Nokia 8 had a pretty good fingerprint scanner positioned slap bang on the front of the phone. There was nothing wrong with it, it received good feedback, it was a very fast fingerprint scanner, but on the render it's been moved to the rear. And the only plausible reason I can see why they've done that is because this phone is going to have a larger display on the front. Now, to be honest, I don't think they'll make the body much larger, and I definitely hope they don't, because the Nokia 8, whilst it only had a 5.3-inch screen, actually had a very large, elongated body, and it had a terrible screen-to-body ratio of 69.4%, which is straight out of 2014, so to be honest, there's a lot of room for maneuver to be able to squeeze a larger display up front without actually making the phone larger. The past rumours have suggested that the Nokia 9 was going to support wireless charging, and that's all well and good, but that does add, again, some more credibility to this leak, because wireless charging really doesn't work very well if the phone has a metal body. And we've seen in the past, smartphone companies have shifted from metal backs to glass backs in order to support this technology. Just take Apple for example. So the final rumoured specifications are these. We're meant to have a 5.5-inch AMOLED display on the front. Now you're probably thinking it's barely larger than the 5.3-inch on the Nokia 8, but it fits in very well with not only past rumours, but also what this HMD representative said. His exact words were that the screen was going to be larger to meet the needs of absolutely all users. So it kind of makes sense. I mean, a screen that's much larger than 5.5, all of a sudden that does cut off a certain part of the population who just doesn't want a phone with that larger screen. In the age of 2017, 5.5 does seem like a pretty solid halfway house. We're also getting the Snapdragon 835 and 4 gigs of RAM, which is a pretty standard spec, but the real improvement is probably going to come in the form of the camera. Whilst the Nokia 8 didn't have a bad camera, the 9 is apparently going to have not only better optics, but also a larger image sensor, so you're going to get loads more light and also crisper shots. Even then, I mean, it's hardly a revolutionary smartphone, but at the same time it will be the best Android phone Nokia has made. As always with this kind of video, we always have to bear in mind that a lot of the information is from unverified sources. Having said that, in this case, we do have a fair bit of information from some seemingly independent sources which overlaps, which does give us a pretty good indication that this phone is legitimate. Anyway guys, I'll keep you updated on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe for that. I'm Mr. Who's a Boss, and I'm signing out.